My name is Kelly, and the story starts in a busy home full of affection, albeit not always equally shared. Our house was always filled with crying, laughter, and the sound of tiny feet. As the second oldest, I was surrounded by my younger sisters, Emma and Lily, who joined our family while I was already in my early teens, and my brother Jake, who was only a year my senior. I was taught the art of responsibility at a young age. I spent a lot of time in our tiny kitchen, helping Mom make dinner or cuddling with a cranky Emma or Lily in the living room, while other kids my age were outside having fun. Even while it wasn't always simple, I learned a lot about hard work and compassion from it. John and Sarah, our parents, were industrious people who aspired to provide us with a better life than they had. Mom balanced 2 part-time jobs and domestic responsibilities, while Dad put in long hours at the nearby factory. They weren't wealthy by any means, but they were able to provide us with a home over our heads and food on the table. But I couldn't help but notice a subtle undercurrent in our family dynamics. My older brother Jake appeared to be very special to our parents. Dad used to exclaim, "Jake's the oldest," and throw his hair in an adorable way. He's carrying on the family name. That comes with responsibilities and perks. The gap was increasingly noticeable as we got older. When it came time for me to graduate from high school, I received an emotional card and a promise that they would help with college bills, while Jake received a car. It wasn't that I wasn't loved. On the contrary, it was only that there was a distinct preference that subtly altered our family relations. Emma and Lily, my sisters, looked up to me with admiring eyes. Since I was so much younger, they frequently viewed me as a surrogate mother. I was determined to be the kind of role model they needed. Therefore, I took this duty seriously. With high school coming to an end, I started thinking about college. As promised, my parents had saved money for our schooling. It was a start, but it wasn't enough to cover everything. I decided to major in finance because I thought it would be a useful area and lead to a secure job. My topic of study turned out to be just as difficult as I had expected. My new routine was late hours spent in the library, but I approached every job with the same tenacity I'd used to assist Mom with housework. I still made sure to contact home on a regular basis despite my burden. Dad would stutter his greetings, Mom would share family rumors with me, and my sisters would argue while talking on the phone about their days. Jake's updates came in less often and were mostly sent through Mom. He had begun working at a nearby company and had shown no desire to pursue higher education. Dad in particular looked happy with his development, as were our parents. Dad used to say, "Your brother's really finding his feet in the business world," when we would talk rarely. "He's got a knack for it." I would mutely concur while smothering every tiny competitive ember that tried to surface. I told myself that this was not a race, that we all had our own routes to take. I devoted myself fully to my education and part-time work as the years went by, wanting to take advantage of every chance my parents had given me. Though it did not cover everything, their financial assistance was a lifesaver for which I was incredibly appreciative. I was resolved not to disappoint them since I understood the efforts they were making to keep me in school. Day of graduation came and went so quickly. With my graduation in hand, I stood in my cap and gown and looked around for my family. They were there too. Jake had made it, standing a little apart and grinning half the time, Emma and Lily waving wildly, Mom and Dad beaming with delight. My mother gave me a big hug after the wedding. "We're incredibly proud of you, my dear," she exclaimed, her eyes shining. Dad gave me a clumsy but loving shoulder pat after nodding. "You did a great job, Kelly. It is now your moment to leave your mark on the world." I told everyone about my ambitions to start my profession and stay in the city while we celebrated over supper. Although there was a part of me that wanted to go back home, the chances here were too good to ignore. I worked long hours at a financial institution in my entry-level role. The frequency of trips home decreased to only big holidays and the odd long weekend. But I never lost sight of my origins. I continued to call and give my sisters care gifts. Almost 10 years after I had initially departed for college, on one of my few trips home, everything changed. My phone rang while Mom and I were catching up over coffee in the kitchen. My supervisor was there. "Kelly, I have some news," he continued, sounding remarkably grave within. "I want you to lead our new branch that we're opening in your hometown. It's a significant promotion, however moving would be required. Do you find it intriguing?" "Yes," I heard myself say. "I'm definitely interested." When I got the job offer back in my hometown, my company said they'd pay for an apartment, but Mom and Dad insisted I move back home. "Come on, Kelly," Mom pleaded. "It'll be just like old times." I couldn't say no. On my first day back, I walked into our old house. It looked smaller than I remembered. Emma and Lily, now in their late teens, ran to hug me. Jake lived separately and was already engaged. Later that night, after unpacking, I sat with Emma and Lily in our old room. It felt good to be back, listening to their stories and laughing together. "So, tell me about Jake's fiancée," I said. Emma and Lily shared a look. "Her name's Vanessa," Emma said slowly. "She's different." Lily nodded. "Yeah, she's from a rich family. Her dad owns the company Jake works for now." Something in their tone made me curious. "Different how?" They didn't say much more, just shrugged and changed the subject. I decided to drop it for now. The next few weeks were busy. I started my new job, setting up the branch office. It was hard work, but I loved it. In the evenings, I'd help Emma and Lily with homework or chat with Mom while she cooked dinner. One Sunday, we were all sitting around the table when the doorbell rang. Mom jumped up to answer it. "It's Jake and Vanessa," she called out. I stood up, eager to see my brother and meet his fiancée. Jake walked in first, looking sharp in a suit. Behind him was a tall, slim woman with perfect hair and clothes that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Vanessa looked around our house like it was beneath her. "Oh, how quaint," she said, picking up one of Mom's knickknacks. I watched, confused, as Mom and Dad fussed over her. They kept asking if she needed anything, apologizing for the smallest things. Emma and Lily were quiet, eyes down. When Vanessa made a nasty comment about Lily's clothes, I'd had enough. I pulled Emma aside. "What's going on?" I whispered. "Why is everyone letting her act like this?" Emma sighed. "Jake works for her dad now. It's a big deal. Mom and Dad are scared if we upset her. Jake might lose his job." I was shocked. This wasn't the family I knew. We'd never let anyone treat us like this before. Things got worse at dinner. Vanessa started on me, making snide remarks about my job and clothes. I saw red. "Look," I snapped. "I don't know who you think you are, but in this house we treat each other with respect. If you can't do that, maybe you should leave." The room went silent. Vanessa's face turned ugly. She stood up, grabbed her purse, and stormed out. Jake followed, looking torn. As soon as they left, Mom and Dad rounded on me. "Kelly, how could you?" Mom cried. "You know how important this is for Jake." Dad looked disappointed. "You need to control your temper. This could ruin everything for your brother." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They kept at it, begging me to apologize, to be the bigger person. Finally, just to shut them up, I agreed to try and make peace with Vanessa. The weeks flew by, and suddenly, Jake's wedding was all anyone could talk about. Vanessa took charge, bossing everyone around like she was running a military operation instead of planning a party. She dragged us to endless dress fittings, insisting we buy expensive gowns that matched the venue's aesthetic. When I suggested something more affordable, Vanessa just laughed. "Oh, Kelly," she sneered. "We can't have you looking cheap at my wedding, can we?" The bachelorette party was next on her list. Vanessa handed out a minute-by-minute schedule, complete with mandatory activities and outfit changes. It was ridiculous, but Mom kept giving me these pleading looks, so I bit my tongue. Then came the bombshell. Vanessa wanted us to dance at the wedding, not just a simple waltz, mind you. No, she was planning a full-on performance. "It'll be the highlight of the reception," she gushed. "You'll all look so cute." My stomach dropped. I'd hurt my back years ago in a car accident. Dancing wasn't really my thing anymore. But I figured, how bad could it be? Turns out, pretty bad. I showed up at the dance studio, and the choreographer started talking about splits and lifts and all sorts of crazy moves. Vanessa was there, barking orders like a drill sergeant. "Come on, ladies, put your backs into it." I pulled out my phone, thinking I'd record it to practice later, but as I watched, I realized there was no way I could do this. It was way too much. "Hold on," I said. "This is insane. We're not circus performers, Vanessa. I can't do these moves." Vanessa's face turned ugly. "What do you mean you can't? Of course you can. Stop being difficult, Kelly." I stood my ground. "No, I mean it. I have an old back injury. This kind of dancing isn't possible for me." That's when Vanessa really lost it. She started yelling, throwing around words I won't repeat. Then she hit me with this. "Fine. If you won't dance, you owe Jake $3,500 as a wedding gift. It's only fair since you're ruining my special day." I was speechless. I looked at Emma and Lily, hoping they'd back me up, but they just stared at the floor, Mom's warnings clearly ringing in their ears. That was it. I'd had enough. "You know what, Vanessa? Keep your damn dance. I'm out of here." I stormed out of the studio, my hands shaking as I clutched my phone. The video of that disastrous rehearsal was still recording as I walked home, my mind racing. What was I going to do now? How had things gotten this messed up? I burst through the front door, still fuming from the dance rehearsal fiasco. Mom and Dad were in the living room, and they could tell something was wrong. I spilled everything. The impossible dance routine, Vanessa's outrageous behavior, the $3,500 ultimatum. I expected sympathy, maybe even anger on my behalf. What I got was something else entirely. Dad's face turned red. "Kelly, how could you? After everything we've talked about, this wedding is so important for Jake's future. You need to apologize to Vanessa right now and agree to do the dance." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Apologize for what? Having a spine injury? Standing up for myself? "Stop being so selfish," Dad shouted. "This isn't about you. It's about Jake's happiness and success." "So my happiness doesn't matter?" I shot back. "My health?" The argument escalated quickly. Voices were raised, tears were shed. I stood my ground, refusing to capitulate to Vanessa's ridiculous demands. That's when Dad dropped the bomb. "If you can't support your brother and his fiancée, then maybe you shouldn't be here at all." The room went silent. I packed a bag that night, ignoring Mom's half-hearted attempts to smooth things over. The next day, I moved into the apartment my company had originally offered. It was small and empty, but at least it was mine. The wedding came and went. I didn't attend. I couldn't bear the thought of watching my family bow down to Vanessa's every whim. I spent that day alone in my apartment, alternating between anger and sadness. A few days later, my phone exploded with notifications. Vanessa had made a post on social media, a dramatic tale about how I had tried to ruin her perfect day. She painted herself as the victim and me as the jealous, spiteful sister-in-law. The comments were worse. Relatives I hadn't seen in years were suddenly experts on my character, condemning me for my selfish and cruel behavior. Even Emma and Lily liked the post, a betrayal that cut deep. The call started soon after. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all wanting to tell me how disappointed they were, how I should be ashamed of myself. Emma tried to reach out once, sent a text saying she missed me, but when I suggested meeting up, she backpedaled, said Vanessa wouldn't like it. I didn't try again after that. I threw myself into my work, hoping to finish the project quickly and leave this town behind. But things kept getting delayed, problems cropping up that required my personal attention. Each extension felt like a twist of the knife. Months passed, and I settled into a lonely routine: work, home, sleep, repeat. I'd almost gotten used to the silence when my phone rang one night. It was Lily. "Kelly," her voice was small, trembling. "Can we talk?" We met at a cafe across town, away from prying eyes. Lily looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, hair a mess. She burst into tears the moment she saw me. "I'm so sorry, Kelly," she sobbed. "You were right about everything." Slowly, the whole story came out. After the wedding, Vanessa had shown her true colors. She'd been ordering Emma and Lily around like servants, making them clean her house, cook meals, do laundry, all without pay. "She says it's our duty as family," Lily said bitterly. "And Jake? He just goes along with it. He sees how she treats us and does nothing." My blood boiled. "What about Mom and Dad? Surely they don't approve." Lily's laugh was hollow. "They think it's great. Say we're building character and cementing family bonds. It's like they're brainwashed or something." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was worse than I'd imagined. "I'm so sorry I didn't stand up for you before," Lily whispered. I was scared. We all were. But now I can't take it anymore. Please, Kelly, help us. The next day, I marched over to our parents' house. Mom answered the door, her smile fading when she saw me. "Kelly, what are you doing here?" I pushed past her into the living room. Dad was there, looking up from his newspaper with a frown. "We need to talk," I said, "about Vanessa, about how she's treating Emma and Lily." Mom's face hardened. "I don't know what Lily's been telling you, but—" I cut her off. Don't try to deny it. I know everything. How can you let this happen? They're your daughters." Dad stood up, his voice cold now. "You listen here, Kelly. Vanessa is family now. She's given Jake opportunities we could only dream of. If the girls need to pitch in a little, that's a small price to pay." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "A little? She's treating them like slaves, and you're okay with this?" "You're exaggerating," Mom said weakly. "The girls are fine." "They're just what, Mom? Just being abused by their sister-in-law while their parents look the other way?" Dad's face turned red. "That's enough. I won't have you coming in here stirring up trouble. Vanessa is Jake's wife. She's wealthy, connected. She can give this family a future. If you can't accept that, then maybe you're not really part of this family anymore." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stared at them, these strangers wearing my parents' faces. "So that's it," I said quietly. "You're choosing money over your own children." Mom wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad just glared. "Get out," he said, "and don't come back until you're ready to apologize to Vanessa and Jake." I left, my legs shaky, my heart breaking all over again as I walked away from my childhood home. I realized a hard truth. I couldn't change their minds. They were too far gone, too seduced by the promise of wealth and status. But I couldn't abandon Emma and Lily. Somehow, some way, I had to find a way to help them, save them from Vanessa, from our parents' willful blindness, and from the fate they seemed determined to accept. That day started like any other. I was preparing for a big meeting, reviewing notes and straightening my jacket. Then I saw the name on the guest list: Robert Thompson, CEO of Thompson Industries, Vanessa's father. My heart raced. He wouldn't know me. I'd missed the wedding after all. But I knew him. The man whose money had torn my family apart. The meeting began. All handshakes and forced smiles. Robert didn't give me a second glance. We discussed business, crunched numbers, argued points. Then came the coffee break. I found myself next to Robert, both of us refilling our cups. He started chatting, casual small talk, that somehow turned to parenting. "You know," he said, puffing up with pride, "I raised my Vanessa to be humble, never let her flaunt our wealth. She grew up modest, well-mannered, even married a regular guy. She respects everyone, treats them like family." Something in me snapped. Without a word, I pulled out my phone and hit play on a video I'd almost forgotten about. There was Vanessa, red-faced and screaming at the dance rehearsal. "You stupid scum!" she shrieked on screen. "Pay $3,500 or get out. I won't have you ruining my wedding." Robert lost all color in his face. He was shocked to see his daughter criticizing the other bridesmaids, my sisters, and me. There was silence after it was over. "I didn't know," Robert muttered. "She's so courteous to me all the time." I believed that I did. I braced myself for fury, expecting him to burst out. Rather, he gazed at me, his eyes beseeching. He pleaded, "Please tell me everything." That's exactly what I did. The hurtful remarks, the forced labor, the way she made my family hate me. Robert appeared to grow older with every syllable. When I was done, he murmured, "I'm so sorry. I was a bad father. Permit me to attempt to put this right, please." He stood up before I could reply. "Join me," he commanded. In silence, we made our way to Jake and Vanessa's home. Robert's knuckles on the steering wheel were white. It was a worse scene inside than I had thought. Emma was there, cleaning floors while dressed in a maid's costume. While lounging on the couch, Vanessa gave commands. Robert lost it. "Vanessa, what does this mean exactly? How dare you treat your own family members in such a manner?" Vanessa's surprise gave way to rage. She gestured to Emma. "I will not be sorry to my servants." Robert went purple in the face. "That concludes everything. You've been disconnected. Both money and a house are gone. I'm embarrassed to address you as my daughter." Jake made an attempt to step in. "Please, sir. The females have no problem lending a hand. It is not really significant." Robert turned to face him. "And you? Allowing your spouse to mistreat your sisters? You've got the boot, you two together, beyond my line of sight." His voice softened as he turned to face Emma and me. "I really apologize for everything. Let me assist in making this right, please." Vanessa's screams vanished behind us as we drove away. I experienced a range of feelings, including sadness, relief, and vindication. At best, this was a Pyrrhic victory. Robert's action had immediate and devastating effects. Rather than recognizing logic, my parents strengthened their backing for Jake and Vanessa. They were enraged with me and accused me of destroying Jake's cozy existence. "How could you harm your own brother in this way?" Mom sobbed while on the phone. "You took everything away from him, even though he had everything." Dad was even worse. He spit out, "You've always been envious of Jake." "Well, congrats. You've brought this family to ruin. Please stop bothering to visit. This is not the place for you." Though their remarks hurt, I didn't take it personally. They had long since made up their minds, and neither my sisters nor I had been their choice. I went all in on the project that had kept me in my hometown for so long, and I finished it. I packed up my flat the day it was finished and never looked back. In need of a new beginning, I got work in a different city. A few months went by. I tried to ignore the family that had rejected me as I started a new life and met new friends. However, my concerns concerning Emma and Lily would not go away. I would text, but the replies would always be brief and evasive. Then there was a knock at my door one wet night. When I opened it, I saw Lily and Emma completely drenched and holding their suitcases. Emma murmured, her voice breaking, "Kelly, we require your assistance." They told me what they knew over steaming teacups. Broke and unemployed, Jake and Vanessa had returned to live with our parents. However, it had made Vanessa even more despotic rather than humble them. Lily said, "She treats the house like her personal kingdom." "And us? We are merely her attendants." Emma said, "Mom and Dad don't do anything. They let Vanessa do whatever she wants because they're so afraid of Jake leaving. I was really sorry for them. What kept you from telling me sooner?" They exchanged a look of guilt. Lily said, "We were scared and ashamed. Vanessa threatened to worsen the situation if we got in touch with you." "However, we reached a breaking point," Emma remarked. "Could we please stay with you, Kelly? Just till our careers and homes are secured?" I made no hesitation. "You are welcome to stay for as long as you need." We were all getting used to living together as grown-ups, and my tiny apartment made things difficult at first. But we eventually found our beat. I practiced interviewing skills with them and assisted them in refining their resumes. We spoke through years of hurt and miscommunications while lying in bed late. Months stretched into weeks. While Lily enrolled in school at a nearby community college, Emma secured employment at a neighborhood bookstore. They refused to pay their share of the groceries and rent, even after I assured them it wasn't required. I came to the realization that our parents might never change, and that Jake and Vanessa might never change one evening, as we were laughing over a ridiculous story at the dinner table, but that was okay. It was sufficient that we had each other. I knew we would be all right as I gazed at my sisters, strong, tenacious, and at last able to be who they were. As a true family should, we would face whatever came next together.